What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews. I got 4 picks that I've already put down, which we're going to take you through today. If that sounds interesting, let's go.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.
Before we jump into these picks, we do have to recap the day that was. 2-2 on the picks that I shared with you guys in the last video. 3-3 on the bets that I shared in VIP. Let's talk about it. Overall, VIP, we went -6 units yesterday. And that was purely because we didn't hit any value plays. Straight bets close to breaking even, but all of our value plays flopped. So our losses, a little bit exaggerated there, but that's expected with the strategy that I do run. A whole lot of blowouts. Unbelievable the amount of blowouts that we just saw. And I happen to only bet on the games where the blowouts happened. But let's talk about it. A couple of losers first. RJ Barrett over 19.5 points. He didn't get the minutes. He didn't get the shot attempts. It was a blowout. This, honestly, was a bad bet because if you think back to that last video, I spoke about the spread. I spoke about the blowout risk. And when I looked back at it, I said, I hope the Raptors can keep it close. Like, what a stupid thing to say after considering the risk. Should have avoided that one altogether. So that was a bad bet. My bad on that one. Karl-Anthony Towns over 3.5 assists. Had a couple stat corrections that crushed us. But I did notice watching this game, the Knicks, they didn't have a great motion in their offense today. They were playing one of the worst teams in the league. They finished with only 24 assists as a team. The Toronto Raptors had more assists than the Knicks did. They had a lot of ISO play, and it wasn't even Jalen Brunson. Like Bridges played a lot of ISO. Josh Hart ISOing everyone. OG was ISOing. Their offense didn't look great today. I know they got the win, but that severely hampered Karl-Anthony Towns in his assists. It could be because he was playing injured. Maybe he was slow up the floor. I don't know what it was. I honestly don't hate that bet. Karl-Anthony Towns assists, something I'll definitely visit again. And this is an awful one. Tobias Harris over 14.5 points. Awful, awful, awful. Not only do I hate Tobias Harris, which you guys know, it's obvious that Malik Beasley was the best bet in this game. The risk in the Harris play that I called out was always going to be the volume. I said he didn't shoot. He doesn't shoot enough to really cover this line consistently. You need him to be efficient in his scoring, and it didn't happen. He was like 4 from 9. It was inefficient. The volume was where I thought it would be. It was the stupidest bet that I made. And what makes it worse is I already considered all these risks as well. So some pretty bad betting on my behalf. I apologize if you guys tailed. But we did cash some winners. Obi Toppin, 10.5 points. Cashed that one, but I was pretty upset with Obi Toppin. He wasn't playing that well. Rotations didn't work out the way I expected them to be with Miles Turner out, but he still cashed for us at the end of the day. DeAndre Ayton over an 11.5 rebounds. This one looked absolutely dead. He managed to stat pad 4 rebounds in like 20 seconds. I'm going to say that was lucky. He shouldn't even been on the court in a blowout, but Chauncey Billups probably doesn't know how to coach a team when they're up by 20, so he's used to running his starters. I think we got lucky there with DeAndre Ayton and Zubac over 2.5 assists. So I feel like this was really lucky to cash this one as well. All happened in a blowout loss. I think he got all 3 assists in the second quarter. A lot of it happened the way I thought it would. But look, I'll take the win. 3-3 on the straight bet. So if you just held those, not so bad. But again, a lot of my value plays didn't come home. Reminder about the parlay play and the double giveaway. 3 lucky people are going to get $100 each once we hit 50 referrals. I think we're at about 36, so we're getting closer. Hopefully we can cash that thing out in the next week. If you're interested in checking it out, sign up to Parlay Play, Dabble, deposit $10, send me an email with a screenshot. I'll get you a month of my VIP picks, plus you'll also get entries into the draw. If you sign up to both, you'll get 2 entries. All the links for that are in the video description below. Go ahead and check it out. I've got 4 different bets to go through today. Let's get it. So for my first one, we're looking at the Toronto Raptors versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Both of these teams are on a back-to-back. The Raptors got blown out. Cavs went down to the wire with OKC. So who am I looking at in this game? I was always going to look at someone in Cleveland's bench, given their starters played a little bit more minutes than they normally would, back-to-back, blowout risk, all that type of stuff. And I've decided to run with Max Strus today. And for Max Strus, I'm running his PRA, 13.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Max Strus over this in 4 consecutive games now, 22, 15, 16, and 25. This blue line that you can see on this graph is indicating his minutes. And what we can see here, minutes slowly going up. He's only 8 games back from a long-term injury. Max Strus seeing a little bit more minutes now. Cavs being on a back-to-back, plus the blowout potential. The spread in this game is 15.5 points. I have a lot of reason to believe here that Max Strus is going to get slightly more minutes than he has been seeing. He's been seeing 24, 25, 26. We might see 28 minutes here for Max Strus. But even if he gets at least 25, I'd be happy with this. Now, he's up against the Toronto Raptors today. Not only do I think he sees more minutes, he's also got a great matchup. If we just talk about how he's scoring the ball at the moment, stuff in transition, spot up, and getting in the free throw line, Toronto Raptors pretty weak at defending all of these play types. So I do like that for Max Strus. If I always think about shooting zones, doesn't have a difficult matchup here. Max Strus obviously shooting a lot from the perimeter. He's either getting layups or he's shooting threes. Very simple for Max Strus. The Raptors will give up a lot of points around the rim. They're also not the best at defending above the break or in the corners. They allow the 8th most three-point attempts. I think Max Strus can get it going today. I think he definitely covers his points line. But I also do like his assists and rebounds as well, which is why I'm running with a PRA. Looking at his assists line, this is at 2.5. He's covered that in the 4 straight games. You can get his assists alone for plus 100. If you look at his rebound line, that is at 3.5. He's cashed this in 4 out of 8 games, but averaging 3.8 rebounds. So he's getting close to it. And I just think with the extra runtime today, he should be able to nail all of these things. So Max Strus, that's the very first play that I've got for y'all. Liking him over 13.5 points, rebounds, and assists. If this moves to 14.5, would I take it? Then yes, of course. But the one thing I like, and I'm always cautious with line movement, is if the line moves, try to get it at good value, right? If the line moves, it means that either the books or the public, they all believe that something's going to happen. So the books move the line. And if they do move the line, you don't want to pay the same price as you would for 14.5 as you should have at 13.5. If it moves at 14.5, try to get it at plus money. So that's my first pick for y'all. The next one, we're going to the Houston Rockets versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Just running with the hot hand here, looking at Amen Thompson. And for Amen Thompson, I'm looking at it over in his points prop. I managed to catch a 16.5. This is most likely moved to 17.5 for the majority of people. And at 17.5, I would still take it. Now, looking at his season, he's hit this only 9 out of 27 games, averaging 13 points per game. As of late, his last 2 games, he's played 41 minutes in both of those games, seeing a lot of court time, scoring 23 and 20 points, which is why his line so high. And the main reason for that is Jabari Smith Jr. is out. So no Jabari Smith Jr., Amen Thompson gets a start, and he's playing a ton of minutes, and he's playing excellent as well, might I add. So what I've done here with Props Madness, just try to get a bigger sample of data when Amen Thompson gets a lot of runtime. I looked at games where he played at least 33 minutes. I think that's a nice conservative number. And when Amen Thompson plays at least 33 minutes, you can see that he's over this points line in 9 out of 11 games, averaging 18.6 points per game. So if he gets the minutes, we've got a good chance here. But what about the matchup? Now, looking at the matchup, I love it here for Amen Thompson as well. The Memphis Grizzlies play at the fastest pace in the league. Amen Thompson, someone who thrives in transition. When you play fast, other teams are forced to keep up with you. And I think Amen Thompson can get it done today. If you look at how he scores his points, 28% of his points are scored in transition. The Grizzlies allow the 6th most points in transition. He also gets to the free throw line. The Grizzlies allow the 3rd most free throws in the league. So in terms of a scoring matchup, it is fantastic for Amen Thompson. If we look at the other teams he's played, the Wizards allow a lot of points in transition. He got it. The Lakers don't defend the transition very well either, and he got it happening there. But even in more difficult matchups, he's been able to make this happen. If you look at shot zones, Amen Thompson obviously scoring a lot of points around the basket. Doesn't shoot three-pointers, so he's getting a whole lot of dunks and layups. 64% of his points happen right under the basket. 84% of his points happen in the paint. And this Memphis Grizzlies team, they allow the 11th most points in the paint as well. So Amen Thompson, we're looking for him to get a ton of minutes the way he normally does, to be effective, to get to the free throw line, make some dunks and layups, and get out in transition and run. So Amen Thompson, let's go. Get that over. At 17.5, I would still be taking this as well. So that's the second pick that I've got for you guys. The next one, we're heading over to the Portland Trailblazers versus the Dallas Mavericks. And I'll take you through some of my other thoughts in this game because I had some other looks, but let's just nail out the bets first. The first one, not the first one, the third one. I'm looking at Denny Ardvia here, over 15.5 points. I absolutely love this. I wanted to bet his over against the Pelicans, but it was a game time decision. If you guys watched the video yesterday, you guys would have remembered that, but I loved his look. He scored 26 points. So I missed that one. Not going to miss it today against the Dallas Mavericks. Now, he's been killing it lately. The main driver for his sudden improvement when it comes to scoring is another set of injuries. Jeremy Grant. So Jeremy Grant's been out for 7 consecutive games now, Denny Ardvia has taken his spot in the starting lineup. In those 7 games, he's averaging 18.7 points per game. He's hit this in 6 out of the 7, an 85% hit rate. Now, what I love about this is he's seeing a ton of minutes, obviously. He's playing 35 minutes per game here without Jeremy Grant. The other thing I like about this play for Denny Ardvia is if we just look at his head-to-head matchups with Dallas this season, he's already played them 3 times. He scored 21, 19, and 21 points. So he's averaging 20.3 points per game against the Dallas Mavericks. And he also did it in 31, 23, and 29 minutes. Now, I just said he's playing 35 minutes without Jeremy Grant. He obviously loves this matchup. Dallas not great at defending spot-up shooters, which is how Denny scores a lot of his points. He also gets in the paint, and then Dallas allowing the 9th most points in the paint. So he thrives in this matchup. We've got a great matchup that he's thrived in all season. Now we're going to give him an extra 6 to 7 minutes on top of his normal game time against them. For him to go over 15 and a half, it seems too good to be true, but I'm going to take it. I like Denny's over 15 and a half points. And another thing that I like about this is Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe. They're the 2 key scorers for the Portland Trailblazers. Their matchup is somewhat difficult. For Anthony Simons, Dallas top 10 in limiting points to pick and roll ball handlers. They allow the 3rd fewest points above the break, and Anthony Simons obviously lives there. Shaedon Sharpe, very much the same. Scores out of the pick and roll. Dallas are top 10. Shaedon Sharpe does get to the point. What does that mean? He does get to the basket, gets in the paint. Very athletic. Dallas, pretty average when it comes to defending that, but he does score a lot of points in transition, and the Dallas Mavericks allow the 4th fewest points. So another reason why I like Denny Ardvia here, he's got the form, he's getting the minutes and opportunities. The top 2 scorers in this team have a somewhat difficult matchup. I honestly think it's probably going to be Denny and DeAndre Ayton who carry this Blazers offense today. So I was close to betting on DeAndre Ayton, but after watching him today, I wouldn't be able to sit through that. So Denny Ardvia, that's my 3rd pick for you guys. And the very last one, we're heading to that game between the Suns and the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young, just one of the best people I've found to bet on this season, similar to Cade Cunningham. These guys just see a ton of usage rate, depending on the matchup. You can kind of predict what they're going to do today. And what I think Trae Young's going to do, he's going to dime up. So I'm taking Trae Young over 11.5 assists in this game. He's hit this in 13 out of his last 27 games. He's averaging 12.6 assists in those last 27 games as well. Now, the main thing that I need to factor in here is who the hell he's playing for this Hawks team, because they've got a lot of injuries. The main thing is Jalen Johnson. Now, without Jalen Johnson, Trae Young has covered this line only 3 out of 5 games, but he is averaging 14.4 assists in those games. The 2 games he went under were against the Denver Nuggets, where the Hawks were blown out. And there is a real possibility that the Hawks get blown out here. So I'm not dismissing that. But the one thing I did notice in these games without Jalen Johnson is that Trae Young's potential assists are freaking sky high. Even in blowout losses, he's managing to kill it. Like that last blowout loss to the Clippers, he played 34 minutes. He had 28 potential assists in that game. Another blowout against Denver where they lost by 30. Trae Young had 27 potential assists. No Jalen Johnson. So without Jalen Johnson, his potential assists are going to be crazy. Looking at his averages without Jalen Johnson, 27 potential assists per game without Jalen Johnson. So what I did was I looked at his season data, and I looked at the games where he gets a maximum of 27. So we're looking at games where he performs below this average, but where he sees at least 20 potentials. Now, when he has at least 20 potentials and no more than 27 potential assists, Trae Young is over this line in 9 out of 13 games, averaging 12.8 assists per game. But if you obviously wanted to get a little bit more aggressive with it, you could not cap it at 27 potentials and just look at games where he sees at least 20. Suddenly he's over in 16 out of 20 games, averaging 14.4 assists. Now, I have factored in the blowout here. It's a 6.5 point spread. The Hawks, not very competitive, but this Phoenix Suns team's not playing very well at the moment. Another reason why I like Trae Young to get some assists here is just looking at defensive rating. The Phoenix Suns, they do have a defensive rating of 22, meaning they have the 9th worst defensive rating in the league this season. But if you actually look at their last 10 games more recently to see what's happening, they have the 5th worst defensive rating over their last 10 games. So it's actually worse than the number may look. So I don't think Trae Young's going to have too much difficulty getting these assists off. I don't think Atlanta's going to have too much difficulty scoring some points here. So I do like Trae Young to go over 11.5 assists. And even if there is a blowout, Trae Young's usage rate is going to be so high, I think he can cover this in 3 quarters. Like I'm very bold and optimistic here on Trae Young to get these assists. I do like the over 11.5. So pumping the brakes real quick. I ask that you like the video, subscribe to the channel because your boy's getting busy on the road to getting 24,000 subscribers. It's that Mamba, baby, number 24. Help your boy get there. Subscribe to the channel because I drop bangers just like this every day. Not only am I going to give you a couple of picks, I'm going to give you detailed insights and analysis. I'm going to show you what I'm looking at. I'm going to teach you how to use the tools. I'm also going to do a deep dive and show you some insights on some other players that I haven't bet on. But the more information I can give you, hopefully the more value I can provide you with. So I do that every single day. Go ahead and subscribe and help your boy grow this channel. Also, wanted to let you guys know that I do have a Discord. I do get some comments in the comment section every day. Do you have a Discord? Yada, yada, yada. And instead of me having to DM it to people, I will let you know that I do have a Discord. It's completely free. It's a great place to hang out. If you just want to, say terrible things about the people who are costing you money, then you can come into the Discord and join me as I do that each and every single day. There'll be a icon or a link or something in the video description below. Come check out the Discord. If it's not your thing, so be it. It's just a nice place to hang, talk about sports and betting. I also want to say thank you to Jordan from the final round. Gave me a shout out on his most recent video, asking his followers to come check me out. I do appreciate it. It's not the last time. It's not the first time that he's done that, and it probably won't be the last. But I do appreciate it. All right, let's get into this deep dive now. Just to be clear, the deep dive is where I take you through some insights and analysis. These aren't bets that I'm putting down. These aren't bets that I'm telling you to take. I'm just telling you what my thoughts are, the things I like, the things I don't. Hopefully that helps. Please do not scroll through the rest of this video thinking that these are all picks. Let's not get it confused. I might bet some of these, but I may not because there might be some injury news that I'm waiting on, or I'm on the fence about something else. But let's get through it. If you have any questions on the deep dive, just let me know in the comment section below. Also, please drop all those comments. All the comments you guys leave help this video get out to more people. I appreciate everybody who engages and does that. All right, let's get into it. Let's go. All right, we got the Warriors versus the Pistons. Now, Steph Curry's a game time decision. So is Schroeder. So is Draymond. Osar Thompson is as well. So I'm kind of staying off this bet. I mean, staying off bets in this game, but I hate to say it. Malik Beasley's got a pretty decent matchup in this one. Oh my God. Obviously scoring from the spot up. The Golden State Warriors are the second most points of the spot up. Beasley's going to get a ton of minutes. Yada, yada, yada. I'm not taking it. I think I'm just going to wait for Beasley to suck, and then when he does suck, then we'll jump on it. But his line's at 19.5 as well, so it's probably getting to the point where it's a bit unplayable, but I did just want to call that out. Tobias Harris, he also has a decent matchup as well. Let me down today. Chances are he bounces back the day after you bet on them. But yeah, there's nothing really in this game that I can really give you value on. All these game time decisions do make it difficult. We've got the Timberwolves versus the Magic. Paolo Banchero back in the lineup. Well, he might be back in the lineup, which means you can't bet on anyone for Orlando until you know what's happening with Paolo. So there's a pause there. Anthony Edwards, scoring spree at the moment. 53, 37, and 32 points in his last 3 games. The last time he played, I bet on his 3-pointers, hit a 3-pointers made ladder. Does he do that again? So he's up against the Orlando Magic. They allow the fewest 3-point attempts. They allow the fewest points above the break. It's a somewhat difficult matchup. They're not strong in the pick and roll, though. So Anthony Edwards could still get buckets that way. I feel like I got lucky betting on Anthony Edwards to get 4, 5, and 6 3-pointers in the last game. I don't want to force anything like that. His line's at 3.5, though. It is somewhat juiced depending on the book that you use, but some sharp books have it at like -103. Some places like DraftKings -145. If I had to bet on Anthony Edwards, it probably would be an over in his 3-pointers made prop. It's just the volume is great right now. And if he's going to keep shooting 10, you have to take him to make at least 4. So that's my Anthony Edwards insight. Outside of that, against this Orlando Magic team, tough defensive team, both of them. Probably not going to find too many edges and angles. Then we have the Raptors versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, a lot of these guys in the starting lineup for the Cavs are going to have a good matchup, but you have to factor in that there is going to be a blowout. Oh, I'm not saying there will, but it's likely. There's a chance that there's a blowout, and they're on a back-to-back. Can you really trust them? An interesting one could be Donovan Mitchell. He sucked against OKC today. Only 11 points, 3 for 16. If you believe in a bounce back against a softer competition, then Donovan Mitchell's low line is disrespectful at 21.5. You might want to take the over on that one, although I think he's more than capable, of course. Donovan Mitchell has been a little bit average for quite some time. And in blowouts, he's not aggressively trying to score anyway. So I think this team's really built for the playoffs. They're built long term. In a game against the Raptors where they're 15.5-point favorites, I don't feel too confident betting on any of the starters here. The one that I did consider is Jared Allen, though. Jared Allen was excellent against OKC today. Up against the Raptors, he smoked them the last time they played. He scored 23 points in that game. Just efficient as hell. The Raptors, very weak against the center position. So Jared Allen, he could have a strong game. But I didn't think... I really just liked the Max Strus play a lot more than anything I possibly could have found on these starters. Knowing that he's only going to see more opportunity than what he has been seeing. I don't think he sees any less than what he has been. So there's probably just a lot of upside there for Max Strus. Looking at the Toronto Raptors, though, I don't know. I said it when I did the preview on RJ Barrett, looking at their previous games, like they've been getting blown out a lot. Like, and chances are they get blown out again. But what that means is the recent data and how these guys have been performing, a lot of it has been in blowout. So you can assume the blowout risk has already been assumed and baked into the number here. So I don't know about RJ Barrett, whether he could get there. Only a couple games in with Emmanuel Quickley and Scotty Barnes available. They're all kind of just taking turns. They're all seeing opportunities in volume. So, and a lot of their lines are similar. So it's a little bit difficult for me to find an edge here, especially against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are a pretty good defensive side. There's probably one on Grady Dick, actually. His rebounds caught my attention. I won't lie to you. I'll be transparent. I did bet on this. Grady Dick over 2.5 boards. It's purely a hit rate play. It's got a 74% hit rate. He did have 4 rebounds against the Cleveland Cavaliers earlier this season. In that game, he played 31 minutes. I don't think he plays 31 minutes today, though. He probably plays 20 to 25. But the hit rate is just insane on this. It just made a ton of sense. I've parlayed it with something else. Can't remember what it is. But if you like the hit rate stuff here, could be a system play. Grady Dick over his rebound. So that could be a look for you. But heading into the Rockets versus the Grizzlies, it looks like Ja Morant's going to be back for this game. So that's somewhat exciting. Well, here's a game time decision. He does have lines available. It's actually only the game time decisions. It's Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Ja Morant, all game time decisions. So it's almost impossible to have a read on the Grizzlies at the moment. Houston, you already know I'm rocking with Amon Thompson. One that I did consider here was Fred VanVleet. And for Fred, I was looking to fade him on something, but I don't even remember what it was now that I'm looking at the numbers. But yeah, I feel like Fred's been somewhat quiet lately, but I think it's because Amon Thompson been making a whole lot of noise. This Houston Rockets team is a little bit difficult to bet on sometimes. Dylan Brooks, he was good to bet on last week. Hasn't been over his last 3, so it's very dependent on matchups. So basically, this Grizzlies team, they allow a lot of three-pointers. They allow a lot of points in transition, but they do defend the paint quite well. So factor all that in when you make your bets against Memphis. But from this Houston team, there's nothing I like more than Amon Thompson. Then we've got the Blazers versus the Mavericks. So I've got a couple of different thoughts and opinions here. PJ Washington, obviously primed for big games without Luka, without Kyrie. The challenge here is he's played the Portland Trail Blazers twice already this season. 14 and 12 points. One of those games without Kyrie and Clay. The other with both of them in there. Points line at 18.5 makes a bit of sense. Rebound-wise, didn't rebound very well against them, but there's no Luka, so everything kind of changes from there. His matchup is okay to score points here, PJ Washington, but 18.5, and it is a little bit difficult for, I would say, for someone who's not guaranteed to see high volume. So there's a risk. Spencer Dinwiddie has been seeing a lot of volume, but he's someone who could take 15 shots, and then he could follow it up with only 3 shots. So it's a little bit difficult to predict what he's going to do. This Portland team, not good at defending in transition, though. And Dinwiddie loves a bit of transition, loves scoring in isolation. He's someone who can get after it, whether it be points, whether it be assists, but relatively inconsistent. I'm going to put the filter on here with games without Luka and Kyrie, so we can see who's doing what within that time span. And we can see Spencer, his assists are okay, his points are okay. But if you look at his points and assists, the games where he scored more are also the games where he got more assists. So just his overall effectiveness is what you're looking at here. So you might want to run a points and assist play on him. It looks like it'll be sweat-free. He'll either crush his 21.5 or not get close to it. He does have a really good matchup, though. That's what I'm saying. Dinwiddie, definitely on the radar. Quentin Grimes, in the same types of matchup, Quentin Grimes tends to score a lot more points when Spencer Dinwiddie doesn't. Now, his matchup is okay to score some points as well, Quentin Grimes. It's just a little bit hard. And I said this with PJ Washington. Who's going to take the shots? PJ, Clay, Spencer, Quentin Grimes. Can Najee Marshall's capable of going off for 20. Jaden Hardy, he can as well. So the Mavs, a little bit difficult. There's no consistency. There's no outright alpha in this team at this present moment. Quentin Grimes, I wanted to see what his rebounds and assists look like because he did so well against that Lakers team. He probably has a decent matchup to get some rebounds and assists here against the Portland Trailblazers. Yeah, but it's not screaming out to me. Not something that I necessarily love. So why I'm showing you all these Dallas players is to show you how they play without Luka and Kyrie. Any of them are capable of popping off. And if you just look at the players' lines, it just shows you how crazy it is. They have, what do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players with their lines between 12.5 and 18.5. So if you have a good read on who you think is going to perform well and why, you're probably looking at a sweat-free bet here. But the book's expecting some team basketball here. Anybody can get after it. Anyone can do it. Jaden Hardy, 3 consecutive games over his points line. And his matchup is pretty decent. Like a lot of these guys have good matchups. So good luck if you do happen to make a play on these Dallas guys. Looking at Portland, I did take you through Simons and Sharp earlier. We're obviously betting on Denny. But DeAndre Ayton, he's got a great matchup here. Check this out. 3 games against Dallas, 18, 16, and 21 points. What I love about this is his volume hasn't even been sky high. 2 of these games, he only took 11 shots. And then in this most recent one, he took 15 shots. So very efficient scoring here for DeAndre Ayton. He does have a pretty decent matchup in terms of shot zones and how he likes to score. DeAndre Ayton's line's only at 13.5 as well. So it is quite low. And it might be recent form playing into that. His last 5 games hasn't necessarily been the greatest. And at the same time, we're seeing slightly lower volume, but a lot of this could be really matchup dependent. He's smoked the Dallas Mavericks 3 times. His matchup's not difficult. Like I said earlier, Simons and Sharp, they do have a more difficult matchup. DeAndre Ayton to score some points. Like, I don't mind it. I don't like DeAndre Ayton. And after watching today, I didn't want to bet on him. So luckily, Danny was available. No game time decision. Then we have Miami Heat versus the Utah Jazz. So these guys just played each other not too long ago. A lot of outs for Utah. Clarkson, Collins, Keontae George. For Miami, Kevin Love, Richardson, game time decisions. And obviously, there's still no Bam. Walker Kessler is probably the first one I thought about, but I have a feeling this might be the most popular play on the day, just looking at his boards. So this opened up at 10.5. It's at 11.5. It might close at 12.5, looking at his rebounds. And it makes sense, right? This Miami Heat team gives up a ton of rebounds to centers. They gave up 16 rebounds to Walker Kessler the last time they played. Walker Kessler only played 26 minutes in that game because it was a 36-point blowout. They play again, 5.5-point spread. Game's expected to be closer. Kessler probably sees more game time. Does he get more rebound opportunities? Well, that depends on the Miami offense. I get it. It all makes sense. I don't know. The fact that they just played not too long ago, it does worry me a little bit. But yeah, I do like Kessler to go over his rebounds. I just feel like the other bets I have, I do like a little bit more. So I like the over for Walker Kessler. And if I had to make a bet in this game, it would be in Walker Kessler to get some rebounds today. Another one that we could look at is not actually available. So someone I want to bet on for the Miami Heat is Nikola Jovic. I just check box scores every single day. I don't watch every single game. And I've just noticed for Miami, he's been scoring a lot. But because his data and lines aren't available when I do these videos, I rarely get to study him. So I'm really interested in seeing what his line is, what his play types are, what his form looks like. And I'll do that before the game, hopefully, if I remember. But that's somebody who I'm really interested in betting on. All these other guys, inconsistent as hell. Tyre Hero's trying, but his lines are high. Scam out of bio. I don't want to get scammed no more. And the others are somewhat inconsistent. So Nikola Jovic from the Miami Heat is someone that I'm interested in looking at. Then we also have the Hawks versus the Suns. So I did speak about Trae Young in depth. Right now, I'm a little bit hesitant to bet on the Phoenix Suns. I did bet on them last time. I bet on Devin Booker, but that was very matchup dependent against Charlotte and how they play. Up against Atlanta, the matchup looks great on paper, but the matchup's going to look great on paper for everybody because Atlanta's not good defensively. It could be a big game for Booker. It could be a big game from KD. A lot of people are banking on Bradley Beal to continue what he has been doing in terms of assists off the bench. Some people are expecting him to score a lot more after a slower game against Charlotte. I honestly couldn't tell you. The assists, it makes sense. He's had 5 assists in both games since he's come off the bench, 9 and 8 potential assists, so I don't mind that. If we were to look at games where he saw a minimum of, let's just say, 6 potential assists, where does that take us to? 10 out of 17. He is averaging 8.5 potential assists in those 2 games. We move this up to 7. Suddenly it's a 9 out of 13 hit rate. Move this up to 8. If he's going to see at least 8 potential assists, yeah, he's got a great chance of covering this line. But I'm looking at this now. You can still get this for about plus 100. It's just such a small sample size of data. We're looking at 2 games here. The matchups are different as well. Yeah, I just can't take anyone from Phoenix today for this game. Something I just need to watch. I want to see what happens. And then looking at Atlanta. So I bet on Trae Young to get a ton of assists. The question is, who's going to be the one to score all these points? So DeAndre Hunter, like, as bad as he was against the Lakers when I bet on him, outside of that, he's been relatively consistent. His line's at 17.5, decent odds for it as well at minus 115. His matchup against Phoenix is not difficult. It's not a bad matchup at all. It's not the worst matchup he's seen. And there's no Jalen Johnson. So if we look at his games without Jalen Johnson, he's actually covered this in 4 out of 5 games with Jalen Johnson out of the lineup, averaging 19.8. So if I had to bet on someone to score in this one, probably be DeAndre Hunter. Matchup's not bad. Opportunities will be there, and he's somewhat consistent. He's obviously got the worst out of his system against the Los Angeles Lakers. We're looking at some other players without Jalen Johnson. Dyson Daniels, he should get a lot of game time today. A lot of players on the perimeter that he can chase around. What's his steals been looking like? 1.5. The odds for it aren't fantastic, but he's hitting it quite consistently. We have Clint Capella. Has he been playing well? Not very much. Relatively inconsistent since Jalen Johnson's gone down. Reese Shea been pretty consistent. I did say he was somebody I think can score points against Utah. His line was at a 12.5, so he would have covered. Line's still at 12.5 here against Phoenix. His matchup is somewhat difficult, but it's still okay. So it could be him. It could be Bogdanovic. Man, I couldn't tell. It could be Garrison Matthews. The amount of teams that just leave the white guy wide open for 3 never ceases to amaze me. But let's get into the last game. We do have the Charlotte Hornets versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Limited lineups, lines available, because AD, LeBron, LaMelo, and Brandon Miller all game time decisions. So we don't know who's going to play. I think LaMelo Ball is probably worth talking about. I'm not betting on his over. His matchup is somewhat difficult. And even though he cashed the last game, actually, the last game I did like his over anyway because of the matchup. But if we look at his games with Brandon Miller, with Miles Bridges, LaMelo Ball's only over this line in 5 out of 11 games, 25.9 as an average. And if we look at how teams defend the pick and roll, tough matchup against Brooklyn, scores 12. The Los Angeles Lakers, 9th fewest points to the pick and roll ball handler this season. Line at 28.5 seems quite high to hit in a difficult matchup. So, and look, he has done it before. He managed to score this against Cleveland, so I wouldn't put that past him. He'll see a ton of volume. Then it's about efficiency as well. So I don't mind it, but I'm not desperate enough to bet on LaMelo Ball over. And Anthony Davis, LeBron James, I could not tell you what these guys are going to do. Pretty much matchups don't matter to them. I think a lot of it comes down to attitude, mindset, their approach to the game. This Lakers team, man, I've got to side with Charles Barkley on this one. This Lakers team sucks. So I'm not taking any bets on LA. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm happy with the bets that I have down already, but you know me, I'm always going to be looking out for more anyway. But look, I appreciate you guys if you made it this far. Be sure to jump into the giveaway for Parlay, Play, and Dabble. The links for that are in the video description below. Go ahead and check it out. And if you do just want to talk about games while they're on, or you want to share some bets, or you want to get involved in some Australian banter, even though maybe half the people in the Discord are American by now, feel free to jump into the Discord as well. It's all completely free. Go ahead and check that out. But best of luck to you guys. We've had a lot of days in a row now where we're just going 2-2, 2-2, losing a little bit of money every single time. Need to get a banger out here for you guys. Hope we go 4 from 4 today. Let's cash the hell out. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to you live from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.